I show 1 o'clock, so assume this is as good a time as any to get started here. The webinar, like I said, today should run about 15 minutes. This is Ed Crow. Thanks for joining me today. Appreciate you coming on. And I just have had a few new people have come on in the last few minutes. So we do record these webinars. If you register, you get a copy of the recording, register and or attend. And also this webinar should run about 15 minutes. This is a fairly short one. So today we're going to talk about how much Medicare agents make. Some of this was easy to put together, just kind of pointing out CMS allowable commissions, things such as that. The harder question to answer, and we get it a lot, is I get a lot of times, so what does the average agent make? I mean, there's a ton of variability when it comes to independent insurance agents. I mean, you have some that write 300 apps a year, versus you have some that are doing this not even part-time, maybe just an afterthought, maybe it's tertiary or to their business, for example, and they write 1 or 2. So it makes it hard to come up with an average. I tried to do it today, though. So what I did is I'm going to talk just about some general things you should know. I'm going to talk about production and show you some numbers over 5 years based on some assumptions for a lower end producer versus a very high end producer, and then I'm going to try to come up with that average. I think a lot of people would probably see what I've come up with for the average and kind of scoff at it because it's low. Probably in general, it's probably a little low, but I think it'll give you a good idea nonetheless. So there we go. There's the preface before I get started. So today we're going to talk about CMS allowable street commission. That's public information for those who don't know, and you can easily access it, but we'll review it. Talk about med sup commissions, average production, and then we'll do initial comp and renewal example. So we'll try to cover all the bases here for you today in about 15 minutes. So first of all, here's the street commission. Again, this is set by CMS. It's public knowledge. It is not a secret. And this is the most CMS allows an individual agent to be paid. So this is the most an individual agent can be paid. However, for street, but this doesn't take into consideration if somebody's a GA, MGA, SGA. Obviously, the comps, there's overrides, and the overall comp would be higher then. But this is the street commission. This is what, if any individual comes to us, the carrier will not allow us to pay that individual more than this unless they qualify for a GA, MGA, or some agency level, and to do that they need sub-agents. So as you can see, it increased from 2020 to 2021. You can see the national. That's pretty much all the states is the national. That went up to 539. You can see the renewals 270. 5.5, a little over 5.5% rate increase. That's been about the average. I think this is the 8th year in a row that Medicare Advantage commissions have gone up. So this is for MA. You can see Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and DC have their own bracket. It's a higher amount. And then California and New Jersey are always the highest, and they're all the way up to 672 now for an initial and 336 on the renewal. Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, that's a lower comp schedule. There is not, for those who know, there is a great opportunity because there's not much competition in those areas. However, there is little to sometimes, some years, no product availability there. So it makes it a little tough sometimes. But certainly opportunity there when they do have product available because there's just really nobody doing business there. PDPs are the same. They're set by CMS. So there you go. It's not broken up by the 3 regions. PDPs are always the same. They went from $78 up to $81, and then the renewal went from $39 to $41. So there you go. There is the CMS allowable street commission for 2021. Oh, I should mention briefly. Certainly, if the contracts we set up, you're direct paid by the carrier, so you're always going to be at this level, unless you're an agency and at a higher level with overrides. But you're always going to be at this level. Certainly, there are uplines and agencies that will pay you less than this, but the way they do that is they set you up as an LOA or commission assignment. They receive the commission, and then they pay you. In that scenario, they could have a setup where you're getting paid less. That'd be considered a below street contract. But these are street, so if you're getting paid direct by the carrier, this is what you're going to get in those areas. So commission payments, I get these questions quite often. They come in two payments. So if you rate a brand new to Medicare, brand new, they didn't have any other kind of product. So person turned 65, or maybe they came off a group plan and signed up for Part B. They haven't had a PDP. They didn't have a supplement. You write them their first Advantage plan. You're going to get two payments, the initial, and then the second half will be the true up. And the true up is just when the carrier is getting a file from CMS confirming that, yes, this is a new to MA, new to MAPD. There was no previous plan, and there's a full commission that's going to be paid. Medicare Advantage and PDP commissions are paid on advance. Supplements are for that matter too. But Advantage and PDPs are paid on a 12-month advance. And renewals now always start in January for companies, regardless of what the effective date was. So you write a June 1, you're going to get paid, and your renewal is going to start in January. So Advantage commissions, and I think this is the place where people don't always understand, if it isn't new, if it's not new to MAPD, maybe somebody had a PDP plan in place and then you write them an Advantage plan, or maybe somebody had a PDP and you write them another PDP, then you're going to get prorated. So if that happens, it's going to be prorated based on the month you enroll it. So if you look at a full commission and divide it by 12 months, so you take that full commission and break it up into 12 pieces, basically if you write somebody, maybe they had a PDP in place, we're already on Medicare, you give them an MAPD, so technically it's a full commission, but you write them for a June 1st, they're going to prorate that thing, meaning they're going to pay you half the commission, and then your renewal is going to start in January because they're going to only pay you 50% of the commission because you wrote it halfway through the year. If you need to understand that better, I have a webinar that is just completely about that we gladly can send to you. I don't want to get too bogged down in that today, but just kind of bringing it to your attention. But I have a webinar specifically on that if you want. If you write an MAPD to MAPD, you're getting a renewal payment only, so half a commission, and it's prorated both. Okay, but your renewal will still start in January. The best payout with Advantage plans is brand new to MA, and you write it later in the year. So brand new to MA, because maybe they were turning 65 in September or October or November, or maybe they got Part B. They were working, they signed up, later on for Part B, and you write them their first MA plan. But if you write it late in the year, what happens is, let's say you write on October 1st, you're going to get the full payment. It will not be prorated, and your renewal starts in January. So you're almost in a way kind of getting paid twice on that. So brand new to Medicare late in the year is certainly the most lucrative in our business. As I mentioned before, commissions have been increasing roughly 5% every year. I think we're on our 8th straight year of increases. What about old renewals? So you can see that the renewal amount has gone up, but what if you wrote a case 6 years ago? Well, now they go by fair market value. So what will happen is just about all the carriers, not all of them, but just about all of them will adjust your old renewals to the new fair market value. So meaning your renewal might have been based, your renewal from 2016, every year now it's been increasing to coincide with what their new max renewal amount is. There were a few companies in the past that didn't do that, but just about all of them do now. There are still a couple small, like very local companies in areas that if you wrote a plan in 2015, they're still paying you the 2015 fair market value. So they don't have to increase it, but most do up to the max. So that's for Advantage and PDP. Talk about supplements for a minute. Supplements are completely different. I'm trying to break this down. Usually, to keep it simple, supplements are usually paid as a set dollar amount in guaranteed issue states. It's going to be very different in non-guaranteed issue states. But in guaranteed issue states, then those 4 all-time guaranteed issue states are Connecticut, New York, Massachusetts, and Maine. So there's no underwriting ever allowed in those states. Most of the companies are going to pay a set dollar amount. For example, here in Connecticut, it's around $350 now. It's gone up a lot. It's about $350 for a supplement, but it's guaranteed issue at all times. So guaranteed issue states set dollar amount. It ranges a bit depending on the company, the type of plan. Like you get paid more for a plan F or G than you do an N. There's commission schedules for this that lays it out, but basically that's about what you're looking at. If you're in a non-guaranteed issue state, so that means in pretty much any other state, you're always guaranteed issue when you're turning 65 or first go on Medicare, or if you move from one state to another. But outside of those time frames, if somebody just wants to switch a supplement mid-year in a non-guaranteed issue state, they're subject to underwriting. So in non-guaranteed issue states, AARP still pays set dollar amounts, but pretty much all the other companies pay based on a percentage of the monthly premium. Percentage ranges, depends on the company, anywhere from 15% of monthly premium to 26%. Advances, I didn't put that in there, but the advances range. A lot of companies pay on a 6 or 9 month advance. So meaning they front the money for the first 9 months, and then it goes to as earned month 10, 11, 12, and going forward. There are some companies that will do up to a 15-month advance. I never liked those that much because if the plan doesn't renew the following year, you get charged back. But anyway, percentage-based in underwritten states, most of these contracts say, that percentage is level for 6 or 7 years, and then it goes down usually. And then it goes down moderately for years like 7, 8, 9, 10, and then after that it goes down substantially. You still get commission, but it's a lot less then. And they're pretty much all set up the same. For those not aware, Medicare supplements have a very high retention rate. You'll see in examples today, I put in a 90% retention. That's actually really low. SUPs are way above that. They're usually in the 95, 96% retention range. Advantage plans are surprisingly high retention as well, much higher than anybody ever anticipated, but nonetheless. And then some companies, which I just wanted to mention, pay very large bonuses. Anthem has gotten, so that's a major space for them. A major thing that they are known for now is Medicare supplement production bonuses. For example, in Georgia, you write 10 SUPs for an effective date, so maybe you write 10 or more SUPs for the month of June, for a June 1 start. They're giving you $350. They're giving you the commission plus a $350 bonus per case, retro all the way back to the first one. So there are some really big bonuses. I pointed out the Georgia one because that's a really big one for Anthem. But a number of companies have the bonuses. Anthem seems to have some of the better ones these days. Okay, so what I did here is, this isn't doing the average, but I just tried to give you some scenarios. People are in the MA, PDP, and SUP business for the renewals. Really, it's for the recurring revenue. As you'll see, we'll talk later, you got a lot of companies where it's upfront and then you make very little on the renewal. Here, with Medicare, it's recurring revenue. It just pays as long as it's on the books, and that book is very valuable when you build it up. So I give you an example here of somebody who writes 60 MAs a year, 120, 180, 240. Some of you might be saying, do people write 240? Yes. There's a number of agents that write at least that much a year, consistently for years and years. There's a lot of them that write in the 120 to 180 range per year, and they do that consistently for a long time. But what I showed you here is basically if you're writing that many, it shows you how much you would make in comp based on a 90% retention, which is low. So I did 90% retention. It probably should be 95, but I just wanted to be conservative. And I did the lowest, as you can see, the national region, which is the lowest comp, 539 new, 270 renewal. If I put Connecticut in here, or New Jersey, for example, or California, these numbers would look a lot bigger. But as you can see, somebody who's writing 60 cases a year, which isn't a ton, 5 years down the road, they're writing that 60 cases a year. Suddenly they're generating $90,000, and most of that is renewal comp. So, those persons that are doing big numbers like 120 a year, 180, 240, as you can see, it's substantial, and that's why Medicare is so popular. And like I said, there are a lot of agents that do the 120 to 180 range. And if you look at 5 years down the road, what they're generating in renewal revenue, it's substantial. So that's the draw to MA. So on my example there, I didn't include any Med Sup or PDP compensation. Usually most people that write a lot of MAs will write some SUPs and PDPs as well. People said, what is the average? Well, it gets really tricky because you've got your huge high volume producers versus all the part-timers that maybe just hardly do it at all. So if you look at one metric, and if you remove all the one policy a year people and remove the huge high producers, it comes out around 30, but that's a little skewed. So really, if you look at it, and I'll show you my demonstration, I think I used 35. And that's an average, but that is definitely being pulled down by, I left the 2s and 3s and 4s and 5 policy a year people in there. So if you remove the people writing 5 policies or less a year, that number would be a lot higher. And if you left the big producers, then it'd be even bigger. I based this on our entire agent base. It's around 8,000 agents. And it came out to about 30, but that's, like I said, a bit skewed. It's probably a bit higher than that. Okay, so I gave you a Medicare supplement example here. I had to make a lot of assumptions. I said, average person writing subs writes 31. A full-time producer that is really serious does a lot more than that. I threw in a $300 of commission per year. Supplement premiums go up every year, so your commission goes up. So take the numbers for what they're worth. It's kind of an arbitrary number I made up. But as you can see, somebody who was writing 31 SUPs, which is probably a pretty low number, but 31 SUPs a year, as you can see by year 5, and with a 10% attrition, which is high, by year 5, they're looking at about 30,000 in renewals. And you would also tack the PDPs on that as well. And of course, that person would probably have a pretty big MA book they'd be building at the same time. But just to give you an idea of what the renewals look like. All right, as I mentioned, that SUP commission, I averaged it out at 300. It'd probably be higher than that, but I had to come up with something. Attrition rate would certainly be lower than 10%. I didn't factor any bonus in, which that can be as much as the commission with some companies. And a full-time Medicare supplement producer will do way higher numbers than that. And I assumed a very small annual rate increase when I made these numbers. So it probably lowballed it quite a bit in a bunch of regards, but I just wanted to give you a general idea of what it looked like. And again, if you have questions, just send them in and I'll answer at the end of the webinar. Here's a PDP example. This is really low because usually you'll write more PDPs than you do supplements, because when you write a SUP, you write a PDP with it. But usually you'll write some extra PDPs just because. So rarely do I see somebody's PDP number lower than their SUP number. But for what it's worth, I just threw that in there. So I had somebody writing 25 PDPs a year just for the heck of it. Obviously new is higher, but I kind of put it on the renewal amount. And just showing you write SUPs every year with your PDPs with your supplements every year. You can see what the renewal commission would look like. So that would be tacked onto the supplement amount. And again, that number is absolutely low. Okay, so I tried to look at this whole thing and use a very realistic example of a full-time agent. So let me explain. So you have agents, really big producers. You have producers that just, we have them listed as full-time, but usually they're focusing on, if they're on the lower end, they're focusing on some other product and just kind of writing Medicare as they go when it falls in their lap. So I came up with what I think is a pretty easy production number per year. You don't have to do anything special here. You don't have to kill yourself to do these numbers for sure. And just threw it together. So somebody for the year, including open enrollment, who wrote 60 MA, 40 Med Sup, and 40 PDP, That'd be a first-year comp of 45.9, but it'd be a fifth-year comp. So if you did that pace for 5 years, it'd be a fifth-year comp of 143,310. And again, that's the numbers I came up with here certainly aren't somebody who's working 12 hours a day and killing themselves. It's a pretty realistic for a serious person and easy goals to hit and numbers to hit. But that gives you a basic idea of what you'd be looking at and why supplements, Advantage, and PDPs are popular because of the recurring revenue of the thing. So a couple final things. Most agents, especially ones that are new in the Medicare business, they usually write some other business as well on the side, so to speak. Maybe annuities or life, final expense, dental, vision. It all adds up. And the reason they'll write sometimes some of these other pieces of business on the side is because while you're building that recurring revenue up on your Medicare book, they're writing other products that are more upfront based money without much renewal. I mean, annuities, life, final expense, dental is recurring revenue and vision, but annuities, life, and final expense, I mean, that's a lot of upfront money. It really is. They have renewals, some of them, but not a ton. So you'll see people often as they're building their Medicare book up, they'll write a few annuities here and there, some life, some final expense, just to bump up their first year number while they're building up those renewals. I think the best example I can get is myself. I started, before I started, building up Crone Associates with agents, I started as an individual Medicare producer. I didn't have a book. I had no clients whatsoever. I started with zero. So in my first few years especially, I wrote between $1 million and $2 million in annuities. Commissions on a index annuity 6 or 7%. So, I was making an extra $100,000 in commission from writing some annuity business that I was getting all off of my Medicare prospects. So that was my example. I usually used annuities to keep my income bumped up in the first few years while I built the Medicare book until I ultimately built it to like 800 or 900 clients. So I had a lot of renewals, and then I didn't maybe focus on writing some annuities as much anymore. But just to give you a quick example there. That's it. Tried to keep it fairly straightforward and to the point. I ran over a few minutes. Let me see if we have any questions here. We do. Okay, so somebody said, you just said sup comps go up. That is not the way it is in Indiana. They don't increase the comp based upon premium increases unless I have bad contracts. Some companies do. Some companies are, if they're paying by percentage, they do go up as the premium goes up. If a company's paying a flat dollar amount, they don't go up. And there are a few companies that do pay a percentage, but only based on the first year's premium, but they're not all like that. So you could be right in some regards there, but certainly there's companies where it's just a set percentage base, and it's just a percentage of whatever the premium is. So regarding Medicare supplements, I understand the birthday rule is now 60 days from your birthday to change carriers. Is it true you can move from an N to a G without underwriting? Yes. So the birthday rule, which is in California and Oregon, I think, I might be missing a state there. I know those two states at least have it. Oregon, I think, stayed at 30 days. I could be wrong. I'd have to double check that. I know California went to 60, and you are guaranteed issue during the birthday rule. So yes, good point there to make regarding the underwriting. But just to make it clear, the 4 guaranteed issue all time states, you don't need to rely on a birthday rule or anything because it's just guaranteed issue always. So you can switch from one supplement to another. It's guaranteed issue and you get paid on it. So it's not like in an underwritten state where, let's say, somebody is 68 years old and maybe they use a trial right, so they just tried an Advantage plan, they don't like it, they use a trial right, which creates a guaranteed issue for supplements for the first year, 2 years in some states. Companies aren't paying commission on that guaranteed issue on the trial right. Same thing with if you move. you move from one state to another. Well, that's a guaranteed issue. But if you write it and use the guaranteed issue, answer all the health questions, likely not commissionable. So just there's little things you need to be aware of when you're writing supplements, especially in non-guaranteed issue states. A lot of quirks. Those are two good questions. Do we have any others? Let's see. Well, looks like that's all we have. I'll talk for another second here and see if we get anything else. But appreciate everybody coming on. Just wait and see if we get another question or two here. So we do record this webinar. We'll send you the recording. We do webinars every Wednesday and Thursday. Usually they're about this long. Record all of them, and they're on various topics. Anybody who is on today, if you have a different topic you'd like to see, please just send it to us. We are open to suggestions and would be happy to do a topic that might be really applicable and helpful to you. So other than that, I appreciate you coming on today. It doesn't look like we have any other questions. Hope everybody has a great day and a great weekend. Certainly, if you have any questions on anything, feel free to give us a call. Thanks and have a good day. Bye.